conflict where a person, an individual is conflicted in the sense that you belong to both sides. Then we look at the pillars of Nigeria's insecurity, we look at the armed and violent, and then we look at the concept of news, and then we conclude with an exercise. This is Nigeria's geopolitical map. The one in, I don't know, my daughter tells me I don't know colors. So me, as far as I'm concerned, this is blue. Is it blue? Thank God. She will say it is something like purple. I have no idea. So this one is big. Oh, no purple. So northwest is blue, northeast is purple. But why this is green? Okay, no, southwest is green, north central is yellow, southeast is red, and south. Right. Now, if you look at this map, there was one Gideon Oka in 1990 who attempted a coup. So what he did was he said, all these people from here, right here, he has expelled us from Nigeria. So those people he expelled are mostly Muslim Hausa Fulani Kanuri people. That is what is called in Nigeria far north. Now we don't have a geopolitical zone here. So they separated us because half of whom he sent out, Bauchi, Gombe, Borno, Yobe, they were part of what the people he sent away, and the whole of the northwest. So that is one thing you will see, that the geopolitical map of Nigeria is something else. So Sokoto is here, and Gombe and Adamawa are under Sokoto before colonialism. Borno is here, but Nasarawa, Lafi and Baregori is here, which was a Borno emirate in 300, 400 years before the white man came. Southwest is here, but Kwara and Kogi, part of them are Yoruba speaking. So what I want to say is this. This is the southeast. Part of Delta is Igbo speaking, like the Asaba side. They call it Anioma. It's also Igbo speaking, but it's in the southwest. So there is the geopolitical zones of Nigeria are not exclusive. They are not exclusive to mean that that only Hausas are here in the southwest, only Fulanis and Kanuris. We have more than 100 other people together with the majority. That is why it is a very difficult thing to have a nation state. A nation state is somewhere the Europeans who created the Nigerian state did not care about the language or religion of people. They just created. They didn't care about whether we live in peace or not, whether we trust in each other or not, etc., etc. So from there you will know there is tendency for misunderstanding. Because when the Biafrans are trying to take away Igbos from Nigeria, they are not taking only Igbos. They want to take the Ijos along. They want to take the Ibibio along. They want to take the Efik along. They want to take the whole oil of the south with them. And that is a problem. Because the southeast has no coastline. It is landlocked. So what they do is, when they draw a map of Biafra, so they draw the whole of this area. Sometimes they even include Benue. They want to take all this area with the whole oil for them. So Nigeria, even the political map of Nigeria is problematic. So that is number one. Number two, the linguistic groups. Nigeria has about, they say, about 200 different languages. 200. We only say we have three major ones, which is true. We have three major ones: Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. But there are about 10 big language groups, apart from the three main. If you take Kanuri, Fulfulde, you take Ijo, you take Ibibio, you take Efik, you take Lupe, you take Ibira, and you take Jukun. Yes, Jukun, yes, Jukun is also big. TV, yes, Idoma, that's about 11. These are big language groups. But Nigeria is oppressing the 10 major groups. And then the smaller groups, about 200 more, they are under the 10. And then these 10 are even not looking at the 3 at the top. They are looking at the 10 which is blocking them from the Nigerian space. This is another conflict itself. Hello, sir. Sir, hello. The two of you stand up. I don't take noise in my class. Stand up. You stand up. Yes, you are looking at me, the two, the girl and you. Yes. Stand up. I take you as my children. If you make noise in this class, I send you out. Please don't. Change your place, you, the boy. Please, again, give him his space and somebody who doesn't know her so that she doesn't speak with anybody. So change your space quickly. I think you are the one, or she's the one taking your attention. These are the linguistic groups. So all these also are areas of conflict. For instance, the chiefs are complaining that the Hausas are oppressing them. If you go to Benue, the Idomas are complaining the chiefs are oppressing them. If you go to Idoma land, there is a small tribe within Idoma which is not fully Idoma, and they are complaining the Idomas are dominating them. This is the kind of country we have. Even here in Gombe, for instance, you are very lucky, at least you have a lingua franca Hausa, you have Fulfulde. But when you count the number of language groups in the state, some of them are nearly extinct because Hausa is a very strong language. It's a commercial language, it absorbs all languages. Usually the children, when they grow up, they do not have even capacity for their languages unless the mother speaks the language. We don't pick a language from the father. Nobody picks language from the father. That's why they call it mother tongue. It is the mother that makes language possible to the children. We in Kano, the reason why we can't speak Fulfulde even though majority of us are Fulani is because our mothers are Hausas. All these Fulani people with their cattle, they came and settled down and they married Hausa people. So father tongue is Hausa Kawai. Yawwa. So this is, so you can see about 10, the major ones, they are here, the Kanuris, that apart from the Hausa, the Igbo and the Yoruba, they have written down the Kanuris, for instance, Margilia. So somebody, when I showed this map in Maiduguri, very interesting. So a Babur said, how can they write Margi without Babur? We are more than Margi. And Margi, they are not even Borno. They are across in Garkida and other places. So that is another small conflict. That is a local conflict. Because to us in the Northwest, for us the Hausa, we don't know the difference between Margi and Babur. We take them as Babur. So Margi will come and say, oh, we are not Babur, we are Margifa. Like that. They will tell you the differences in the culture and the language. Same thing, like this is Idoma, this is Tifland, this is Igala. I forgot Igala. Igala is a very big language also. But in Kogi State, for instance, there are 3 main groups. The Igala, they are the majority. Followed by the Ibira. Followed by the Yorubas of Kabasai. They call themselves Oyun. So those ones, if it is voting, the Igala will always be governor. They will never allow anybody, apart from the death of Abubakar Abdu. Prince Abubakar Abdu. Unless he died, apart from his death, no Ibira will ever go to be governor. Look at Benue. The thief, they can be governor. The Idoma, they will not let them be governor. But the Idoma man can become president of the Senate, which is higher than governor at least in name, if not in money. So you have seen the political crisis. Now you see the language crisis we have. It is very lucky for the North that at least we have one language. At least we can all communicate. Apart from a few chiefs and a few Yorubas in Koja and Kara, most of the North can communicate in Hausa, which is something very good. In the Southwest also, they have this unanimity of language in the Yoruba language. In the Southeast, you have the Igbos. But the South and the North Central, that's what the problem is. Because the number of languages in the South and the North Central are beyond calculation. After you finish counting, then you come back and you find that you have forgotten one language with 1,000 people. It happens. So, what is Nigerian journalism? We teach you in school that journalism is a very good profession, very lucrative, but I will tell you, don't be biased if you report, and be bold to cover the stories most people don't. But did I not tell you to change your space, sir? I told you to get another space. I don't know. But his name is me. Just make him come forward, come forward. Bring your chair here. It is, and I asked them, like in the hereafter, the people of paradise will be asking the people of the other side. They will say, did you find what God has promised to you? So when my students come to the department and they said, like one of them is here, Inusa Isago. Inusa Isaac graduated 2016. I taught him, so he told me now. He's in Abana FM and he has an online news agency, and he tells me. So most likely if I interview him now, everything I taught him like 10 years ago, did you find what I promised you? He's going to definitely tell me it's very different. Because you told him, most likely what you find in the industry, there are vested interests. Whatever you are doing in the media today, you have to do it according to the owner. When I was growing up, the network, as young children during the 70s with Gawon as head of state, every network news would begin with the head of state, General Yakubu Gawon. So I always thought, before I read Moscow, that news has to start with the president. This is how it is. Because he's the owner of NTA, so he must be named first. And it is true today. If your boss makes news, for instance, GMC, you can't escape it. That is not, however big the news, if the governor has something, that is the top news. Even if it's not newsworthy. Even the condolence. Even condolence. Then you find that we told you it was lucrative. When, for instance, now, 1997, I was a lecturer and I was earning, I think, 25,000 naira. I think my salary was around 25,000 naira as a lecturer. I started in 1991. So, in January 97, I earned 25,000 naira from the Bayero University Kano. The next month in February, I arrived in London to start working for the BBC. At the end of the month, February in 1997, I was paid £2,500 sterling. Now, if you translated that, it was about 500,000 naira at that time. From 25,000 naira to 500,000. The jump is just too much. It's unbelievable. I never told anybody, unless you, because you, the two of you, madam, Kema, gentlemen, please stand up. Stand up. No, not you, me. Yes, and the lady. The lady. Lady, bring your chair out. Haba. I thought people are responsible. I don't like side talk in my class. I don't. I'm very allergic to disturbance on them. Get a chair and sit. Okay, sit there. Sit there. Sit there. Please. Haba. Maybe he was the one disturbing you, or vice versa. The four of you, I will call you at the end of the day and see if you are compatible. Why is he? What are the war? So from 25,000 to 500,000. My father was alive then. So I called him, I said, Papa, I don't touch you. I don't touch you. Until he died the same year, Alhamdulillah. That's why when I was living in London, they were doing me a send-off party. And one Somali, we had 52 language sections including house, 52. Swahili, Somali, etc. One Somali was crying, why are you living in London? Why are you going back to Nigeria? Allah has brought you out. He was crying in my send-off party. How can you go back? Because this is why the Africans are going to kill themselves in the sea to change the situation. So I told them that one thing about Hausa people, will go back home. We go back home. We usually go back home. So when I came, so they were crying. How can you? God has given you the opportunity to run, and then you're crawling back. You are not grateful to Him. So you find that the salary is not what we told you about. It is very true. Unfortunately, especially for private media. There are some media stations. I know one big newspaper in Nigeria. When he gives you ID card, he will say, go and do whatever and get something. Corruption, creating fake news, whatever. And they blackmailing people to get your pay. Because the newspaper, the publisher is a crook and he will not pay you. He will spend several years. Mail ticket. So, news is for the highest bidder, usually, unfortunately. That is why, before social media, all the North, dependent on the BBC, DW, Radio France International, they depended on those for news. Because the thing is, nobody can bribe me with, well, my salary is equivalent to 500,000 naira in 1997. How can any governor bribe me? So any news I find, I would say. But you, can you do that? Never. So many of my students will say, yes, it is lucrative if you get opportunity to go to London. And then there is a brown envelope. So this is the reality of Nigerian journalism. So the advantages of Nigerian journalism is that it is creative, it is vibrant, it is innovative, and it is resilient. But the minus is unfortunately for us, it is biased, a lot of fake news, and sometimes uninformed. Sometimes people, the journalists themselves are not well informed, especially now with the social media. People are very, very uninformed. They distribute things which they cannot verify. As Abu Bakr was telling you yesterday, knowing the laws and ethics of journalism is very, very important. But you just can't go and read anything. By the laws of Nigeria, the National Press Council law and National I will send you out of the class. You are disturbing your sister. She is a permanent and pensionable member of the class. You are a visitor and you are disturbing her, or vice versa. Thank God you are the two of you are girls. If not, I will do something about it. Go back, Secretary. Yau ko ba yau ba. Zan saka monitor ma yanzu abin nan waye ko zafi ne. Ga monitor yau saka da kallon musu yawa. So many people are informed. The law says you cannot practice journalism unless you have at least a diploma in mass communication or related discipline. That is the law. That is the law. But anybody who speaks a little English will carry notebook and pen and say he's a journalist. If you are one of them, I'm sorry, but that is the truth of the matter. Can you practice law without a law degree? They will kill you. Can you practice medicine without medical degree? Accounting. So sai na maka raina mala bakar haka suke mana duk sun sace kayan aikin because they have no ethics. Sometimes those who are not well professionally attired for the profession, we find it very, very difficult to differentiate. It is a fault of our class monitor. NUJ is not doing its work because there is no better regulator than NUJ and NGE. NGE is the Nigerian Guild of Editors. They should know who is qualified to be a journalist, and the NUJ. You can't be a member of the NUJ unless you are licensed to be one. You can't be licensed to practice journalism until you are qualified to be one. So let's look at conflict. Every piece of news, number one, will be a conflict. Even in every media, the way the conflict is reported in the world is that the higher the number of deaths, the more prominent the story. Unfortunately, this is Western look at story. News is calamity, sadly. We used to have a boss at the BBC. His name was Barry Burgess. Barry Burgess learned Hausa in Kano. He spoke Hausa like a native of Kano. He has no problem with Hausa. So when our reporters, Mato Adamu in Maiduguri, Dosa de Kankia from Kano, and many of them during the 90s, when they issued a report to say, we have a story, such and such story. So after we collect all their information, we have an editorial board meeting around 11 a.m. Because at that time, if you remember, for my contemporaries like the NUJ editor, it can only be my contemporary and Abubakar here. The others of So that time at 6:30 a.m. we'll have news on the BBC. 6:30 to 7. Then we'll have 2:45 to 3:15 in the afternoon. And then at 8:30 p.m. it used to be 8:15 to 8:45. That's how the news was on the BBC. And most of the elite, the Hausa-speaking world, Nigeria, Ghana, Chad, Cameroon, Niger, all of them, they will listen to the BBC. So we meet at 11. So the editor will ask, arrange the story in the order of calamity. So if the story from Maiduguri had about 20 people dead, and the one from Kano had 10 people dead, the one in Maiduguri is number one. This is how Westerners look at news. They don't care. The capitalist world, America, France, England, they look at news from the calamity angle, which is not the way news should be. But the books are written like that, and that is how we taught you, and that is how we report. So in Gombe State, after the news of the governor, news of calamity will be number one. Hardest and farmer crisis, kidnappers, etc. Unfortunately, that is how we craft news now. So conflict is inherent in nearly all news of sports, war, crime, violence, and internal disputes, and any difference of opinion. Everywhere you find conflict, you find news. Sports. Most people will think that there is no conflict in news. What happened 2 weeks ago after Spain won the female World Cup? the coach of Spain hacked the captain of the female team which won the World Cup. He not only hacked her, he held her head and kissed her on the mouth without her permission. And that is a real crisis now. He has been forced to resign, and there's a lot of scandal in Europe. FIFA has dismissed him, all this. So that is conflict in sports. So he said he thought he would like to be kissed. When he thought she would like to be kissed. If you see the picture, you will see it. So that's conflict even in sports. War itself is a conflict. Crime is a conflict. Violence, internal disputes of any difference of opinion is also a conflict. Generally, the news of conflict also involves other news values such as drama and oddity. Drama, that is, sometimes we hear that the truth is stranger than fiction. Sometimes it happens like that. You are told a story and you just can't believe it. How can this happen? So that is drama. Oddity, news is odd, it's different from normal. That is another characteristic of conflict. Therefore, it has an emotional impact, a factor that appeals to many people. Many types of stories of conflict have their underlying element, the struggle against the odd. Some of these types of conflicts are man's struggle with nature. The flooding in Libya, more than 20,000 people died. Just one single calamity, 20,000 people. The sea washed them, unfortunately. So that's man's struggle with nature. That is what is climate change. That is what is happening. Struggle between individual and organized society. Individual and organized society, like Boko Haram, their leader, against the whole Muslim society and the whole Nigerian society. So that is struggle between an individual or group of individuals with the society. If they had taken themselves somewhere and kept quiet, doing their worship, etc., without harming anyone, nobody would care about them. But the moment they started violence, that is where conflict began. Then there is struggle between political and economic groups in wars, campaigns, strikes, etc. Economic groups also. There are economic conflicts, political conflicts, etc., etc. So if you want to know more about conflict, I have given the reference. The program manager will send all the slides to the group so you can pick and read. So I give the reference there. You can go and read more about what conflicts are. So it is called elements of news are immediacy, prominence, drama, oddity, conflict. For those who are not journalists, like licensed journalists, so it is important for them to read that. These characteristics or elements of news are immediacy, that you report it as quickly as possible. Prominence, how important it is, because a story of a poor farmer usually is not a story. It doesn't hold. It doesn't make any difference. You have to have a prominent person in the story for it to be news. Then drama, that is a little different from the normal, and then odd, and then conflict. Conflict is a very, very important underlying element of news. So good and evil, this is conflict. Everywhere you find good and evil. What is missing at the bottom is the term the sons of Adam in Islam and Christianity and Judaism. In the Torah, in the Bible, and in the Quran, there is a story of the two children of Adam and Eve. Their names, Habil and Qabil in Quran or in Islamic history, and Cain and Abel in the Bible. We all remember what happened. Of course, it was over again. It was, conflict over women is a very serious conflict. God gave Adam always to Hawa, the wife, Eve, always had 2 kids, 1 boy, 1 girl, 1 boy, 1 girl. The instruction of God was that the boy born in this pregnancy will marry the girl in the other pregnancy. That is how it was arranged, and that is how we all descended. Cain said his twin sister was more beautiful than the twin sister of Abel, who he was supposed to marry. He refused. He said he will marry the one they came in the same womb. And that was an abomination in the Bible, in the Torah, and in the Quran. God said no, but the boy insisted he wanted to do it. So there was a conflict. If you remember, it's a long story in the Quran. And he killed Abel, Habil. So Cain, Habil killed Abel. Abel, Habil in Arabic. That's the beginning of conflict. He was the first murderer. And Allah says, every murder that happens in the world today, Cain will take part of it. Because he taught people how to kill. How to kill. So, conflicts, they began like that. Over a young lady. I don't know what happened to the lady who was not married. I don't know. It's a story maybe for investigative reporters. But it was a long time ago. Maybe 100,000 years. So, you know, for those who know history, there was this Battle of Troy, between the Greeks and the Trojans. The whole battle, which lasted like 100 years, was over a girl called Helen. Helen of Troy. Who's a Kasatwatu? Badama. The fight continued long after Helen had died. What was he? What is that? So, evil, good and evil are also conflicts. So, there are some people, and most likely you know them, when the su har abada they will have to argue. I was go, didn't the zaki the su do. Akwai ma wani ya ce wai yau me aka yadda a gari me aka yadda da shi. Saboda ya going against it. So akwai wata rana da aka ce shi wannan a yan user ne aka ce ya wata rana haka kawai sai ya ce ana argument kowa ya san side zai dauka. Kawai sai ce ya yarda da majority. Wallahi sai da aka bi shi hostel aka ce lafiya ko yau saboda ba haka yake ba. Akwai mutane like that. They will just, so when you say yes, wallahi somebody will say no. Not because it is a no. It is because you said yes. Even if the yes is right. Even if the yes is right. Like what happened in Britain 2016. When they were voted to leave the European Union, what they call Brexit. The vote was 50.0001 for the winners, 49.9999 for the losers. That is nearly 50-50. Somebody will say no. So this is life. The human being is made like that. Somebody will say no. So let's look at conflicts in Nigeria. We call it the federal character of Nigerian conflicts. When you come to the northeast, especially Borno, Yobe and Adamawa, Boko Haram is the overriding conflict. Conflict from Boko Haram is based on philosophy of the people. That is the philosophy of Muhammad Yusuf Shekau and his people, which formed their ideology, which caused that insurgency, and which has impoverished the region. Because now, people can't fish in the Lake Chad, people can't farm in their farms, people can't travel to markets. All these are economic activities that cause poverty because of Boko Haram. So that is a conflict. Even though it is almost limited to the northeast, but it has affected everyone in the country. Because 100 years ago, the most delicious fish eaten by the elite of Lagos came from Lake Chad. Lake Chad. There was one writer called Marjorie Parham. She wrote a book, Travels in Nigeria, or similar title. She said, I think it was in 1925 or thereabouts, about 100 years ago. She said, every year, hundreds of tons of fresh fish leaves the Lake Chad area for places in the south. So the sea fish is not as sweet as the river or lake fish, because lakes and rivers are not salty. So the fish was very, very sweet. So all this economic activity was destroyed by Boko Haram. You come to the northwest, banditry, kidnapping, especially in Zamfara, Kaduna, Katsina. And you know, this is based on criminality, and it has destroyed the economy also. In Niger, in Kaduna, Bidugari is a very, very fertile area for farming. People can't go to the farm. Funtua, excellent farmland. They can't go. All of them. North Central, mostly farmer-herder crisis. Especially Benue, Plateau, Nasarawa. This is about agitation for land, about the economy and criminality. Southeast, kidnappings, robbery, all the 5 states, agitations for injustice, sense of injustice, criminality. Southwest, impunity, SARS, Yahoo Boys, which is criminality, cosmopolitanism, and urbanization. Anybody from the South here? In the South, especially where the land meets the sea, rivers, Bayelsa, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, even Delta. It is the women who feed the men. Women in those places, women feed the men. Women fish, they catch fish. Women farm. Allah ku goda Allah ya mata gidan mu. Al-Qur'an. Wallahi. Da na Tagalawa, da na Bilmidi, da na Kaltungo, da na Fulani, da na Hausawa, ku goda Allah ya arewa. Wallahi da gaske. Wahalar da suke sha. Mata, they fish and fish. The husband bai matsiyaci yana ba zagi. Wato yana gindin bishiya, yana shan burkutu. Ni na san wani chief. Matansa 19. He had 19. So each one will take turn to bring him fish for the day and money for the burkutu. She will come, because small islands in the places, she will come with her children in her boat. She will drive the boat, row the boat herself from her island where she lives, with the children in the boat, with fish, with money. She will come to the chief's house. It is her day, or night, or whatever it is. She will spend a few days feeding. God did not create the world like that. In all the major religions, the man should be man of the house. Unless you go there, you wouldn't know. Journalists, you should know this. You will see them on bicycles with cassava on the saddle with children. So they walk. Please don't broadcast this. One is just for your ears. Azarido ku go dan ijo ne in yaji na faɗa ga ji kani na ne kai yazo ya ce an ce mun a Gombe kaje ka zage mu duk haka suke da musulman su da kiristan su mata ne suke wahala kuma sun kowa su mutu. Wallahi, what the women suffer, but nobody is reporting that. They do the donkey work, farming, fishing, all wahala, even including construction labor. It's unfortunate. That's a conflict. So what is South? So vandalism of pipes, Niger Delta, criminality, wasting the environment, etc. One day they asked somebody from the militants of the South, when there was this amnesty of President Umar Musa Yar'Adua. They were asked, why do you do this vandalism, breaking the pipeline, etc.? One militant said, well, politicians always come to tell us your development is in the pipeline. In English, when you say something is a pipeline, it is coming, it will arrive. So now we break the pipeline, make we find our development. So they are breaking the pipeline. Since you said the development is in the pipeline, and it has not arrived. So we are breaking the pipeline to see where it go hide. Why is it hiding our development? So the other time, somebody has created a gadget to monitor. His name is Dr. Mohammed Ado, a fellow man living in London, a professor. He created something and he has brought it to Nigeria. It will catch all the thieves. And since Obasanjo time, nobody has accepted the gadget because the whole stealing of oil is at the top. These are the small ones they are catching. The big thieves are there. So all this show you that our problem in Nigeria is not located in one geopolitical zone. Every area has conflict.
The gadget is in the pipeline.
Gadget is in the pipeline. Indeed, the gadget is in the pipeline. Also, it will come. So, what are the types of conflicts? There is intra, there is inter, and there are other combinations. And we'll see the examples when we come to this. Take this Aguleri, Umuleri. These people are Igbos in a single local government in Anambra State. Single local government in Anambra State. That is intra-classic. Over a small piece of land, over a farmland. Same Igbo, same Christians, same Anambra, same local government, same everything. But Igbo society has communities. They have clans. So one clan was claiming a piece of land, the other clan was claiming the same piece of land. They went to war and killed half of the population. So this kind of conflict doesn't make sense. Because usually you should wait for conflict, Igbo and Fulani to fight. But if Igbo and Igbo fight, why should that be? That is intra-ethnic or intra-religious conflict. For instance, Boko Haram claim to be Muslims. So it's an intra-Islamic conflict. So human beings are prone to conflict. Then there is inter. Inter means between two. And that is very common. That is very known everywhere. Hada Farmer, Boko Haram's government, etc. These are inter-conflicts. And then there are other combinations which don't even make any sense. And we'll see them later. What are the reasons for conflicts? The first reason is economic. When we say economic, like the biggest harbinger of conflict is land. Land is an economic asset. Most people will fight over land, sadly. Then there is a social problem, like fighting over a beautiful lady is a social problem. It's not economic, because you will not bring any gold and diamond. That's a social problem. Then there is a cultural, which includes religious. Then there is a political, which is plain to all of us. And then there is a plain crazy. Sometimes some conflicts defy definition. There is no way you can define the crazy combination. I give the example of Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone has 6 million people. 6 million, maybe like Gombe State or a little more. What? The whole of Sierra Leone, very rich in diamond and gold. But when Sierra Leone went to civil war, they killed about 1 million of their citizens. 1 million. Another 1 million, they cut their hands and legs. So when they didn't want to kill, they would just cut your hand and leg and leave you like that. So you go to Sierra Leone, you see so many limbless people. You are saying something? Oh.
Sleep or no sleep?
Oh, yeah, long sleep. From here. When I was doing the society reorientation program in Kano, under the government of Malay Branch, it was about reorienting the mentality of people. The United Nations Development Program, UNDP, from the United Nations, they asked me to go to Sierra Leone to help the president to establish a society reorientation program. I spent 3 months in Sierra Leone to see. I saw the country. I went around the regions, 9 regions, and I found how come these people went to war like that and killed each other just so ruthlessly. For Disonko, I went to his village, Bo, his deputy, his Alaji, I can't remember, Alaji Bature, originally Hausa man. For Disonko was a photographer, but he was a leader of the rebels. How about Jabba? They killed Liberia and Sierra Leone. The number of people that were killed in that country. So I was telling the president, when I made a presentation to the president of Sierra Leone, at that time he was Anas Bai Koroma, and I made the presentation to him about what we were doing in Kano, etc., etc. And so he said, what is the population of Kano? I said 20 million. He looked at me. I said, Nigeria is 200 million. He looked at me again. He said, I'm struggling with 6 million, and I'm complaining. So conflict, it doesn't matter the number of people. It will happen. The number of people doesn't matter. It will always be happening. So Ogulere Umuleri, Ife and Modakiki. Ife, you know the owner of Ife, is a city in Osun State. Modakeke is a village under Ife in the same Ife East local government. Like Uguleri and Umuleri, these are the same Yorubas, the same culture, the same local government, the same history, everything. But in the 90s, they went to war just because they are different clans. They went to war and killed each other over a piece of land. One day I was in the University of Uyo, and after I did my lecture, one professor stood up and he said he had a question. And he didn't even refer to the lecture I gave. He said, "Why are you killing us?" I said, "Who are we and who are you?" He said, "You Fulanis are killing us." I said, "Oh, that's what." I said, "Please call your other professors here in the south and I will explain something to you." I had a recording, and the recording I had was about the kidnappers speaking Fulfulde to the parents of a young Fulani girl whom they kidnapped, and they were negotiating in Fulfulde for ransom. So I put that for them. I said, listen to them first. And they listened to it. I said, these are criminals. They may be Fulani like me, but they are criminals. If they find me, they will kidnap me. And I said to them, you know, Buhari looks Fulani, Turutu. Yeah, they agreed. I said, if these bandits find him, wallahi, they will kidnap him. It's not a tribal or ethnic thing. It is an economic enterprise. They don't care about whatever language or religion you speak. So the sooner you understand that, the better. Criminals are criminals in whatever tribe and in whatever culture. So I said, these are negotiating in Fulfulde with the grandfather of the girl, who is abusing them in Fulfulde, and they are laughing. And they are saying, Modibo, you have to give us that money. If not, we will kill your granddaughter. And then one of them, Shaggy criminal, and she speaks very, her Fulfulde is not too good. You did not teach her very well. So we will kill her quickly. Yes. It is an economic enterprise. It's a criminal economic enterprise. And it's Muslim upon Muslim violence. All Zamfara is Muslim. All Sokoto is Muslim. Yet it is happening. All Kazina is Muslim. So this is the problem. So conflict has no house, has no owner. It can happen everywhere, anywhere. So today's farmer can be the herder, and today's herder can be the farmer. All of us settled Fulani in Kano, Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto. Most of our grandparents were herding cattle. After some time, they settled down, and we became Hausa. And then, all of a sudden, the remaining cousins who are in the bush, they found that kidnapping is more lucrative than herding cattle. Unfortunately, because of ancestral, the Biafrans are claiming injustice because they can't be resident of Nigeria. The same thing, because the Fulanis, in the bush, they are not well educated or wise, so they can't articulate their problem. So the language they speak is violence, which is unfortunate. And we left it too late. We left it too late. So the thing is, they will finish all the young Fulani men in the bush, which is sad. This is the situation, because the Nigerian government is not ready to resolve conflict before it happens. It's waiting for it to happen so that they can budget money for it, and then they steal the money and use a little bit of it to fight the insurgency, and then they will let it fester and continue, so that every year there will be a budget for it. That is what is happening to us. So if you have a dog and a cat, you know there is conflict. There is a conflict, seriously. A dog, you have to take it to a walk. A cat can stay at home. But if it is a Muzulu, he will go out. One day, if you are a Muzulu, you have some if you are in Europe, you will see all over the trees in London, for instance, if your cat gets missing, £500 reward if you return Snow White to me. Like that's the name of a cat, Snow White. I have lost my cat, Snow White. And the owner will be showing the picture, crying, with tears in the face. Because you know how the affinity of human beings to animals. 500. There was one Zimbabwean, my friend, at the BBC. He was showing us service. When he saw that, he said, I will take a leave from BBC for 2 days looking for this cat. 500! Free! So, if you do have animals, even at home, you will have crisis. So the bigger your culture, the more accommodating you become. The United States, for instance, Trump, he was against immigrants. But Schengen, his ancestors were German. Why was a German American? His grandfather was German, he came to America. And how she the way somebody. All his wives, Trump was something else. He never married a non-beautiful woman. Say, yeah, buddy, what is that? Beauty pageant. She, what the teacher said, say all the time. I got teacher one now. Somebody in Maza, I did Maza. I teacher. I ready to go. And Kapung, I tell you, say, Nagani, Isa, I do a work. Well, I say, I'm not Maza, but what the touchy? It is Sira Rama, so do walk about it. So you tell you, Dick Cavaliers, the air Bulgaria, Slovenia, Hungary, the what is the democracy? Amana, yeah, to Kaikachaba say immigrant, don't pay the matter the immigrants. That's conflict, he preaching against himself. Then look at the United Kingdom. There was a prime minister called Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson. His grandfather was Turkish Muslim. His grandfather, she might be somebody. I got that I was a cancer. The sperm is in the spine. She said, he will never grow. He will never grow without immigrants. The beauty of America is Ukowa. That is why it is a great country. London in Kaji, kan kaga dan Ingila guda ɗaya a London, kaga baki 10, kaga dan Asiya 20, kaga bai rabe 100. A can muke zuwa sayan kayan ciki a Lusham Sudan gwal. Haba, The koi daga India ya san you want my shaki? You want I have good shaki. Good shaki. Yes, ya san ji hanta to sun gyara sun san baka fata na zuwa. Shi bature bai cin hanta bai cin kayan ciki. Ya wadata alaji. Ya wadata ai sai ku bai. Wala bai ji. Shi bature yana mamaki wace Afirka ana cin kayan ciki. Shi ba san dadi ba. So Imran Khan in Pakistan, he married the daughter of Goldsmith. Goldsmith was a billionaire. His daughter Jemima, he married her, and it's the same thing in India. And in India, Rajiv Gandhi married Sonia Gandhi. They had children, and they became politicians. And the BJP, Bharatiya Janata Party, this is a very right-leaning party, is saying that the children of the immigrant Sonia are not fit to be prime minister of India. The same thing, the children of Imran Khan, who was the best rugby cricket player during his time, they are not fit to be. So, like that, conflict everywhere. In Kano, we had two governors, one originally from Niger State, one originally from Borno State, and they were governors. The reason being that Kano is cosmopolitan and accepts qualification to be governor in Kano is Hausa da Sallah. Chigelan, kwari na kazo, wallahi da kai zama governor. Ya za ka jarba ne. Wallahi. Duk wanda Kano is 100% Muslim misali ko 99 in dai kana Hausa babu accent kuma kana sallah kan as a Muslim shikenan. That's a qualification. In other states, but Commander Bala, you can be president of the country, but you can't be governor of your state. You cannot be governor of your state, but you can rise to be president of the country. Sokoto, we had a governor in Sokoto who was of Yoruba origin. Sokoto, the country. And interestingly, on the other side, we had mayor of Enugu in the 1950s who was a Fulani man. Umaru Antine. That's his name. Umaru Antine, Fulani man, mayor of Enugu, elected by Igbos. At that time, there was no economic interest in politics. There was no ethnic bigotry. Lagos and many leaders. If you go to Lagos now, they said, I like what Bode George said recently. Bode George is a politician in PDP in Lagos State. He spoke recently, very interestingly. He said the governor is from Ogun, the deputy governor is from Osun, the speaker is from Ekiti, the deputies, he said the whole leaders of Lagos are not Lagosians. And that is true. And that is true. So when they were electing the speaker, he said, you better elect somebody from Lagos. That's how Lagos has grown. It has absorbed people. It has made people who go to Lagos, they don't go back home. People who come to Kano, they stay. They don't usually even claim their own state of origin. And that is how the state grew. The highest people with money in Kano are from Jega. Jega is in Kebbi State. In Kaje Kantunkwari, you all know Kantunkwari, especially my daughters. You know Kantunkwari? Yawwa. Masu kudin Kantunkwari are from Jega. Jega is, you wouldn't even know Jega has money. It's in Kebbi State. But the history is, Jega was on the road, the Trans-Saharan trade. It has history of commerce. The great-grandparents of Alassane Dantata, Dangote, etc., they followed through Jega when they were going to Ghana to buy things. And so the Jega people came to Kano, settled, and became multi-billionaires. So if there is no conflict, there is progress. So, for instance, in Yobe, Ahmad Law could have been president of Nigeria, but he can't be governor of Yobe. The Kanuris will not allow him. In Abari Balamanjana. The new colonial masters. Kaza, Borno, they colonized Kano, Katsina, Zaria, everywhere for 200 years in the 13th century. Very, very bad. Very, very. Hi, this is another Munga. I don't go. Hey, I don't go. I was also. So let's look at the 5 pillars of Nigeria's insecurity. Number 1 is the gun. You know, we have Shika Muslim Chiburadia. So Shika insecurity in Nigeria now. Guns make them bold. In the sword, the arrow, the spear, that's what I want to do. Bendiga ita ce babban bala'in babban bala'in insecurity da na Boko Haram da na kidnapping da farmer harder crisis is the gun. Number 2, drugs. Drugs make them reckless. Wanda zai iya saka wa mota babies suna ihu a mota suna konewa ya tsaya sai sun kone. Drugs ne. Only drugs can make you that reckless. Ba hankali. Every crime da aka yi has drugs behind it. Drugs. Number 3, forest. Duk inda babu daji da saukin kidnapping. Because wa wajen boye ba. Ba wajen boye ba. Kano da Jigawa da sauki. Gombe da sauki. Katsina, Kebbi, Kaduna, Niger. Forest. Forest. You have to have where to hide. And number 4, motorcycles, mobility. Motoci ba su yi wannan lungunan ba, balle babur zai shiga. Sunan ma babur ne, sunansa ne boxer. Banda mahaukaciyar kasa ta irin Najeriya, har yanzu ana importing boxer. Abin da ya kamata 10 years ago, tun da 'yan Boko Haram suka fara amfani da shi, a ce an yi banin shigo da babur Najeriya. Da yanzu ba su da mobility. In fact, yanzu a kidnapping sai an haɗo musu da babur 10. Haka suke. And number 6, corruption. Number 5, sorry. Corruption. Sun wai da aka kama wasu a federal government agency, they went somewhere. So the staff were kidnapped. And so the kidnapper said the agency should take the ransom money to the DPO. So they didn't believe it. So the agency, they found another way to pay the ransom. So DPO ya zo minister ne dan kai ili da musu. Yace an ce ku bani, kuka ki bani, kuka je kuka yi musu direct. To yanzu sai kun bannawa. Ba in ba haka ba za su sako su ba. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. An yi wannan. An kasa faɗa saboda it is a terrible thing. Duk kidnapper da aka kama in yi statement da zai implicating 'yan sanda ko security ba a sakawa. Wanda kuke gani a social media is doctor. Corruption bala'i ne. It facilitates everything. But don't quote me. I'm a teacher in the school. Yeah. So, but I wrote about this in my column. I wrote these 5 pillars of crime. Why is it the only country in the world where we are not using drones? Everybody is using drones for farming, for security, for anything. But the thing is, if you use drone, you will finish the bandits in 1 day. All of them. Because they are armed drones which can bomb. If they use them, it will stop. It will stop. Because the drones have sensors where they will go and find body heat, and kill everybody. And then if it ends, who will give the money for security? The oxygen. So Nigerian conflict is unfortunate. There are conflicts in the world. When you go to Europe, you will see demonstrations. After the demonstration, everybody will go back home safe. Nobody will be killed. Nobody will say 6 people are injured and they went to hospital and put ID on them. That's it. Our police, they have no idea but to shoot with live bullets. There are different segments of quelling crisis. There is, of course, hot water. Nigerian police and Nigerian security don't know about it. There is tear gas. There is rubber bullet. There is live ammunition. But they start from the top. Just like that. They love to kill. Just like that. And then you make people angry. And then the people come out. Let's look at the Shias. Shias, they want to be killed. If you don't know the psychology of people, you will never win against them. Shia is so different from Boko Haram, but they have the same ideology. We want to be killed and go to Jannah, go to paradise. So they will continue unless you know how to handle them. If you ignore them, that is the best you can do to defeat them. Unfortunately, there is no philosophy of fighting crime in Nigeria. No philosophy. They are doing it just like that. So guns don't kill. I remember in America yesterday somebody was mentioning, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, that Obama tried to curb gun crime in America. You know, everybody has a gun. There is something in the Constitution of America called the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. The section says every American has the right to bear arms. At that time, gentlemen, please, gentlemen, the two boys, haba, gentlemen, the teachers, so like this can come on. So with Allah, when I say, so the Allah, then you have it. Yeah. Go Bala. To Karma away, Agani, so she came. So he said he would do it. The gun lobby in America, National Rifle Association, they have so much money, they can make you unelectable. Everybody has a gun. You remember the 11-year-old child? He loved 11-year-old. He loved a 10-year-old girl, and his friend also loved her, and she loved the lover. She's a lovey. So the lover 1 and the lover 2, 10, 11-year-old children, 11. So this 11-year-old who was not loved, when the Akashari, he went home, brought his father's gun, and killed about 18 children. 11-year-old. You remember, we forget it. Everybody has a gun. So America say Trump where guns don't kill. Those who shoot are crazy people. She knows Obama said, okay, the crazy man should take a knife and see how many people he will kill. Yeah? Take a knife. It is guns that kill. There was what happened in Las Vegas about 5 years ago. Somebody in a hotel room, he bought about 20 guns, fully loaded. People were having a party. Concert. Yes, concert. There was a concert happening downstairs. He was on the seventh floor. He sat there in his room and opened the window and shot at that concert. He killed about 50 people. His gun will finish, he will take another one, the bullets will finish, he will take another one. Like that. Just because he's angry with one person in the person. If that man was using bow and arrow, how many would he have killed? Most likely none. So this is a problem of guns. Tramadol. That is the second one. Drugs. Tramadol. There is a Hausa term for it. Adungumazaki. The need NUJ, the Abubakar Musa Musamman Zancha. Zaman in there, mutum ya sha kwaya. You know, kwaya, drugs. Kagani wannan is a flat place, ba? Shi dan kwaya, ai kun san shi. She rami zai gani a gabansa. So he will be swinging from here to here. And it gives false bravado, false bravery, the iska, the kaya. Zai yi rungumar zaki because at that time you feel that he's stronger than the lion. So that's why the house called him rungumar zaki. So tramadol, the highest dosage of tramadol is about 20 grams. For those who are sicklers, they have a lot of pain. Maybe girls, women, like they take ibuprofen. If they have ibuprofen or one other thing with P, one other drug during menstrual cramps. So tramadol is the highest painkiller. It deadens the pain. It doesn't take away the pain, but it makes you feel much better. 20 grams is the highest. There is tramadol of 500 grams. 500. It is made in India and Nigeria knows. And it's been imported. And it has been arrested every day. If it's America, they will go and bomb the place in India. The second biggest importer of tramadol is Benin Republic in the whole world. Exactly. I've written about this 10 years ago. Research me. The first country to import tramadol is America. The second in the world is Benin Republic. Because we have porous borders and it can be imported. The Nigerian system is not ready to fight this. Philosophy versus criminality. That is what is happening to us. So Nigerian reporting, most of us as journalists report the effect, not the cause. Now who are these five pillars of insecurity? Show me your hand if you are learning this for the first time. If you are learning this for the first time. You see? Yeah? Most of you see? This is because our journalism, our media organizations do not pay attention to the cause. They pay attention to the effect. We count bodies. We don't talk about what killed those bodies. This is our situation. And that's why we're telling you this is for you to think and change the narrative. If people are killed, why? Ask that question. What we ask in Nigeria, in journalism, it should be the 5 W's and H. What, who, why, where, and when, and then how. In Nigeria, our stories, our news is what? Nobody asks why. Why? Why? So why is very, very important in finding the cause and not the effect. So news is about immediacy, prominence, drama, oddity, and conflict. In teaching, we said a man, a dog, and a bite. If a dog bites a man, it's not news. If a man bites a dog, that's news. But a man like here, you go. I like here, a dog, you bite a man. She come a man, make a bite a dog. And there was a so that is Western view of news. Western view of news. Nigeria, we are doing the Western bit of news. In China, their news is the government has built a new hospital in 3 days. Do you remember? COVID-19? That is news in China. China doesn't talk about conflict. It doesn't. So conflicts will not be repeated if they are not reported. Conflict, you can quote me, conflict may not be repeated if it is not reported. Because if you don't know, when the insurgents, you give news, they will do it again. That's copycatism, as Abubakar said yesterday. So developmental journalism is what the Eastern world is proud to do. China especially, Russia under communism. Their news was about new train station opened in somewhere. That is news. You will never hear it on BBC. Unless it is on a mountain and it has some dramatic effect. That is the same thing as rescued versus killed. The bank, when you go to the bank, you want to borrow money, they will say, we'll give you a facility. What facility? They hide the term loan in respectable terms. What facility? Facility about it. So that's the difference. So you will hear that such a number of people were killed like Palestinian and Israeli conflict. The Western way of reporting it, 9 Palestinians were killed in a clash with Israeli soldiers. Wallahi Karyani, Palestinians don't have a gun. Israelis have a gun. So 9 Palestinians were murdered by Israeli soldiers. That is the truth. But Western news will not say it like that. It was not a clash. Somebody holding a stone and somebody holding a gun, machine gun, and you say it's a clash. It's not a clash. It is not. So in journalism, nowadays we have what we call fake news, unfortunately, and that's why we call the social media people, for them to understand that it's not everything you forward to everybody. Please, if lunch is ready, tell me, Isa, so that I can stop. It's not ready yet? Okay. So in journalism, you have to know your history. People don't know history. People don't know history. Each one of us is a victim of some historical injustice. Every one of us. But if you are moving forward, you should know the history and ignore it and go ahead. Ignore it and go ahead. The person you think is your oppressor is the oppressed elsewhere. This is how life is. Life is not about absolute fairness. God did not create the world to be a fair place. And that is why He is rewarding the good ones. Despite all the problems, they will continue to be good. That is it. So it is very important for us to know that conflicts happen. So know your history. Knowing history will help you to understand A, B, C from X, Y, Z. So know history. It's very important. You have to know your geography. Where is your hometown? What state? What region? What geopolitical zone? What country? What sub-region? What continent? You have to know the geography. And there are so many things geography will tell you and history which you will not learn in school. So I teach my students in journalism. Whenever I teach, any course I teach, even if I teach radio or television, I will teach them a little bit of history, a little bit of geography, so that they can place things in order. Sometimes you see a map and you ask a journalist, show me where Ukraine is. He wouldn't know. You have to know as a journalist, you have to know a little bit of history, you have to know a little bit of geography for you to place your work professionally. Professionally, you have to know that. You have to know that. For instance, most people think that Fulanis here in Nigeria or in West Africa are the only ones fighting farmers. The whole history of the world, every farmer has been fighting harder. In the history of the world, Cain himself was a farmer, and Abel was a herder. Conflict was like that. Go to Rwanda. The Tutsi are farmers, the Hutus are farmers, the Tutsi are herders. Go to South Sudan. The Dinka, they are tall like the Fulani, but they are dark. They are herders. And the Nuer are farmers. Everywhere you have cattle and farm, there will be crisis. It's not a Nigerian problem. It is a global problem, but every country must be able to solve its own problem. That is why our ancestors had brutally. They had a way that these cattle rearers will pass through. But population growth and lack of planning has taken that out. So the cattle, a cow born today, its great-grandmother cow has ingrained in. Do you know homing pigeons? You know Tantabara? You know Tantabara? Set a Tantabara and take it to Bauchi, it will come back home. Allah has given it a geographical compass in its small brain. That's why it's called homing pigeon. It will return home where it knows. The cattle, all animals are like that. The birds fly from Norway to South Africa every year, 10,000 kilometers. During winter, during summer they go back. 10,000. They stop in only about 5 places. One of them is near Hadeja in Jigawa State. From Norway, the end of the world to the north, the end of the world to the south. But so the cattle, these cattle we are fighting about, that they enter the farmland and destroy. Originally, that was the route they were following. It was blocked. The cattle have memory. Ko ba su taba bi ba. Har dan malaki da bai taba bi ba, kakarsa tana da memory din da aka haife shi, da memory da aka haife shi. But nobody is talking about Britain. And nobody is sitting down to plan a tsare wannan yawon ya isa haka kamar da sauran kasashe suke. Unfortunately, so this is a country which is not ready to resolve our problem. So it's not the Hausa people. The Hausa people are like the Hutu. They are farmers. The Fulanis are herders. Sun saba da zaki a daji da kura da kowane irin dabba. So they are a little bit like the dabba. Ko ba haka bane? Kakanninmu ne mun sani. Mu ko yan birni settled people muna da gonaki muna da sauransu. But nobody is thinking before during our ancestors' times, they settled in a place and they did like chiefs and Fulanis. Chiefs and Fulanis for hundreds of years. They were mutually existing. The Fulanis will take the land and they give the farmland fertilizer. They give them milk and so many other things. The chiefs will give them yam. They will give so many. It was a very symbiotic relationship. But after population growth without land, the children and grandchildren, they started to agitate, this is our land. This is what is happening in this country. Because we don't plan. We don't plan. And conflicts can be avoided if there is plan for it. Because everybody knows it will happen. You can critically perform that it will happen. So the Hausa, the Hutu, and the Noah is a law of production. Every one of them, the Hausa and the Fulani, were complementing each other. Some are fertilizing the land, some are growing the seed, etc., etc. In fact, that is why we are called Hausa Fulani. The Fulanis of the Northwest intermarried with the Hausa farmers and they became one people. Most of us Fulanis of the Northwest will have mixed parentage. That is why when you Gombe, Amuri, Adamawa, they will say that there's only Fulani, there's only Hausa. They don't know us in the Northwest. They don't know Katsina, they don't know Kano, they don't know Zamfara. They don't know the mix that has happened. Culture is so different. Culture is dynamic. Culture is dynamic. So that is the law of production. Everyone must be given their way and manner of their development. So, in conclusion, conflict is blind. Conflict is blind. That's why I told you about the Abuleri, Umuleri, that I told you Modekeke and Ife. Most of the victims of Boko Haram have been Muslims. And you see, for Boko Haram, the Muslims are more kafiri than the Christian. Because we don't believe in what they do. So when so they are very ready to kill us fast. You know, when they had the Christian girls, they said they will sell them as slaves. But when they catch Muslims, they kill them. Kidnapping, as I told you now. When you say Fulani kidnappers, these are criminal kidnappers who happen to be Fulani. Because they kidnap Fulani as well. They kidnap everybody. Ogoni 9, Ogoni 5, Ogoni 5. Nobody. Yala bara wuce. To. Birane hanzi ba da gudu ne. Hanzi da gudu ne ko? Ko ba haka ba? Yau. So everybody remembers Ogoni 9, Kensara Wiwa and his people who were hanged. But nobody remembers what they did. People don't know history because the media have filtered out what the Ogoni 5 did, what the Ogoni 9 did. We remember the Ogoni 9 were hanged during Abacha's time. That's what we remember. And it was unjust, and it was wickedness, etc., etc., because Ken Saro-Wiwa was a writer, he was a poet, he was a very intelligent person, yes. But what happened? They killed 5 chiefs, but nobody remembers. In whatever way or form, 5 chiefs were killed. And I was a student at the American University in Cairo when Ken Saro-Wiwa was killed, was hanged. And the Center for African Studies at the American University of Cairo quickly called a seminar. And they asked me to come and speak on the topic, listen to this topic, the final breakup of Nigeria. In their opinion, Americans, they thought when you hang Ken Saro-Wiwa, Nigeria will break up. When I stood to speak, I said, you, the people, the white people, you know Ken Saro-Wiwa more than Nigerians. Nigerians don't know him. He was writing in English and he was speaking to you, not to us. People don't know. You have made him very high. Amma at home, he was fighting even among the Ogonis. So this is the thing about crisis. We filtered out the Ogoni 5. The Ogoni 5 could have been wicked because Ken fought them because they were fronting for international oil companies like Shell. They were taking money from Shell and making sure that Shell got all the profit it needed. And that is capitalism. But they were killed. These 5, the chiefs. I remember the chiefs were killed. And so the 9 were arrested. The only injustice, I told the seminar in Cairo, the only injustice done to Ken Saro-Wiwa and his people was that the sentence was carried out swiftly. In Nigeria, justice takes 20, 30 years. So they should have been in jail waiting Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court was the Supreme Military Council at that time. And when they ordered, you remember, Mombasa, for instance, Babangida's time, when they shut down in the night and passed the judgment, immediately they went and shot them. So military justice is not like a normal justice. So I said, the injustice is, so they were surprised. How can Nigeria not break up? They have killed the greatest human rights, environmentalists, Allah Selki. Let's say, Allah ba inda za a je. Let's say, Makosa su ba. Makosa in Nigeria ba. Tsakanin garin su ma suna rigima da shi. Ko ina, conflict is there. So, as I told you earlier, development is in the first line. So أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. So before your lunch comes, we will break for Salah. And when we come back, before they rearrange the certificate which I will sign, there will be an exercise. This is the exercise which will, when we sit down, this is as journalists, this is the exercise. As journalists, look at insecurity, economy, and corruption. Which among these is the existential challenge facing this current Nigerian president? And how can the media help in this? This will be a discussion. All of us will contribute on this exercise, but we'll break now for Salah, and hopefully the lunch will arrive by then. So after the lunch, we'll take about 10, 15, 20 minutes to discuss this, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.